Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode. My name is Dana, and my guest today is Ryan Cloutier. Hello, Ryan. How are you?
Doing good. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Glad you're here. So before we get started, why don't you tell us a little bit about you, a little bit about what you do, a little bit about your company, that kind of thing.
I am the president of Security Studio, and Security Studio provides software solutions to managed service providers, managed security service providers, and enterprise to help them simplify their risk management, really wanting to put risk into context for the business and narrow their scope and focus to the most next actionable item, improving the value that they get out of their information security spend. Myself, on a personal note, I am a passionate cybersecurity squirrel. Nickname is the Care Bear. And my goal is to help every human start to have a more meaningful connection to their digital life so that they're able to safely navigate it today, tomorrow, and to prepare the next generation for their digital future.
I love it. I love to hear you say that. That's fantastic. Okay, so today we have a very important topic that there's always a lot of questions, and there's going to be even more questions moving forward. The CMMC assessment. So our topic is going to be, how do you know if you're ready for an assessment? So this is very important because it's going to be very expensive if you jump the gun here beforehand. But let's get into this here. So, okay, so what do I need to do next if I'm not ready for an assessment?
So if you find that you're not ready for an assessment, the very next step is to begin a pre-assessment process to figure out where the gaps are. Is it that you still need to build out your inventory a little bit? Do you maybe need some network analysis done? Maybe a better understanding of your business processes. It's not always a technology issue. It can be a business issue with a technology component. So it really is, reaching out and finding, how much do you know about your environment? What led you to believe you weren't ready for that assessment? And then it's highly recommended to do a self-assessment or to work with a pre-assessment partner who can help you to build a roadmap to get ready for a proper assessment.
Yeah, that sounds very important. And that kind of ties right into our next question, which is, how do I make sure I'm ready for an assessment? Now, you talked about some partners. Let's get into a little bit more of that and how you think someone knows they're ready for the assessment.
Yeah, I think the most important part of being ready for an assessment is, again, I suggest you do work with a partner who can help you navigate this. But it is a lot of times just the foundational stuff, knowing what computers, what do you have in your environment? What are they doing? Who are you doing things for? So the CMMC has several levels to it, different requirements depending on what segment of the government you're serving, right? Making a pin for a door could be one level of requirement. Making a critical component for a weapon system could be a much more stringent requirement. So understanding, who you're serving and what those requirements are, and then begin building a plan for what you need to do to satisfy those requirements. But almost always everybody needs to go back and start with a proper asset inventory of systems, networks, cloud providers, users, software solutions, and data. That's usually where the bulk of the work needs to be done up front to get ready for an assessment.
And I think by focusing on the assets like that at first, it kind of helps take a little bit of intimidation away from where in the world do I start? Right.
Mm-hmm.
So if you start with exactly what you just said, it's like, okay, now I know. Okay, let me go see who has a computer, who's got this device, who's got that, who's got an IoT, who's got whatever. And then you can kind of, like you said, build off of there. But it's a good starting point for those that are just have no idea what to do right now.
And if you don't know any of that, engage a partner or take a pre-assessment. A lot of times we don't even know what we don't know, right? And I run into this a lot of great manufacturers out there that are needing to achieve CMMC, and they're amazing at making the widget they make, but they've never gone through anything like this before. They maybe don't even have a formal IT function. So find a partner you can trust and work with who can help break this down into small, digestible chunks, right? The other thing is manage your expectations. You're probably not going to get all the way to ready for a formal assessment in a single week or month. It might take you the better part of 6 months or a year to prepare, but everything you do today to prepare reduces the overall costs that you'll pay later. And when that real assessment comes in, the official one, it'll help accelerate that and make that a smooth process.
Well, that ties us into the next one because there's a lot of stuff being said out there about what is this going to cost? Oh my goodness, these crazy, ridiculous numbers and all that kind of thing. And we want to make sure that the DIB can achieve this. That's very, very important. We need these people to stay in business. We need them to keep servicing the government. So we need to make sure that number one, that they can do it, and number two, that they can afford to do it. So what can they do to reduce the costs associated with this?
The scope, right? Limiting of scope. So how much of those systems are actually part of the systems that do the thing that you need to be compliant with CMMC for? And maybe if you have other systems that can be separated out or pushed to other parts of the business. So that's one way to control that. The other thing is, really, if you can work with a partner or a professional organization. So I'll call out an organization in northern Wisconsin that represents a lot of the manufacturers up there. It's called NUMA, Northeastern Wisconsin Manufacturers Association. Partnering with an agency like that to do it as a group, to bring in those auditors as kind of a group function, maybe do that pre-audit as a group function, a lot of times can drive down the cost. So I encourage you to work within your industry. If you have professional organizations within your industry, if there's something regional in your area. And then the other thing is do as much of this self-assess work as you can. And the last thing I'll say is partner with a university. There are a lot of very hungry, talented, but not on paper experienced students looking for an opportunity that you could maybe give an internship to and save some money there and have them help you build out that asset inventory and help them, help you get prepared for that assessment without necessarily incurring a financial cost. And there's the added benefit of your contributing now to enriching the information security community. You're helping that student to get some practical hands-on experience, very low risk proposition for you and a very high value impact back to the community as a whole.
Are you having a hard time finding new customers? A lot of folks just like you in the IT and cybersecurity space are in the same situation. And they have embraced a new opportunity to get new clients. They're doing this by growing their online presence and maximizing the power of LinkedIn. How, you ask? I have a tried and tested method called my Cyber Social program. I myself have been on LinkedIn and now have over 3.5 million LinkedIn views, and over on YouTube, I have over 750,000 video views. So I can show you exactly how I have done that so that you can promote your organization and become the authority in your industry. And the best part is, I've done all of this organically without one paid ad. You don't need to waste your money over on Google with pay-per-click ads. Now's the time to establish yourself. Look around. The competition isn't doing it. This is your time to shine online before they do. So if you're ready to start your online journey and future-proof your business, please, down below, click the link and schedule a time for us to have a 45-minute call where I can review the exact methodology of the Cyber Social program. You can also click below to see some of my masterclasses, which will give you quick little snippets of a couple of things you can do right away on LinkedIn that will help with your profile. I hope to see you and hear from you soon.
That is fantastic to hear you say that, because I love the idea of going to the schools and trying to get the kids that are there that need that hands-on real world experience. And then, like you just mentioned, helping them with their journey. We need more of the younger people to get into cybersecurity. And that's a perfect way for them to, they're getting exposure. You're getting some quote unquote cheap labor that's going to be able to help you with some of the basic stuff. You're not going to be able to do the whole entire thing with them, but there's a lot of stuff, like even putting an asset inventory, log together, that kind of a thing. So that's a really great point, is to reach out to the local universities. And, I hope that somehow they almost start creating, I know that cybersecurity you can do a major in cybersecurity and that kind of thing, but even if the Department of Defense, which is kicking off CMMC, which we think is going to go on to other agencies as well after the DoD really completely rolls it out, maybe not even when they're done, but somehow there could be some association where we could get people that could be learning about that in the school, how to wind up being an assessor. Like that could be a career path. That would be a great career path for somebody if they were able to learn that with some real life application.
Absolutely. And I think we're very close to that. What we need are folks like those today that are listening to this, who are in that business setting, to start to create that opportunity. So the universities are very open to this idea. The students are very open to this idea. Folks like myself who are mentoring these organizations are very open to this. you're that last mile. You're what we need is somebody to raise their hand and say, you know what? I am interested in doing something like this and I could use the help. And you never know, you might actually find that you need that qualified person on staff. And because you gave them that first opportunity, you're going to be able to actually hire that person, give them those first couple of years of experience before they, move on to the next thing. So it could be a really beneficial situation that goes beyond just saving immediate cost.
Right. And that's a much better journey for these people as opposed to going to an interview and someone saying, well, you need to have at least 5 to 7 years of experience. And they're like, well, I just graduated. How am I supposed to have that kind of experience?
Right.
And that's what's been happening. So we need to change that. That's not working.
True. And as an employer, I deal with that a lot, right? It's I've got a doctorate in cyber, but I don't actually know how to do the basics of something like a CMMC assessment.
Absolutely. All right. So here is another big question, a very, very big question, because there's a lot of phony balonies now that are saying, oh, this is some good money. I'm going to hop into the CMMC world. So how do I know I'm selecting a trustworthy partner that can conduct the assessment and also someone that can help you prepare for the assessment? So where do we find these trustworthy people?
Well, selfishly, I'll brag and say Security Studio has a pretty good reputation for being trustworthy, and we're happy to point you to lots of folks that we don't get anything back in trade for that recommendation. But a really good way is to ask them what doesn't work well. What is the shortcoming of their program? What happens when it doesn't work out? How supportive are they going to be? Anyone that is telling you they have it completely solved for you is probably telling you a fairy tale. Anyone that tells you that this can be easy is probably telling you a fairy tale. It can be simple, but it cannot be easy. Unfortunately, it is hard work and a lot of detail type of work. When it comes to establishing that trust, I encourage you to go to the community, go on LinkedIn, go to Twitter, and ask folks at similar businesses, ask CISOs, who do you know? Who would you recommend? Have you had a good experience with? This partner called me up and I liked what they had to say. Their sales team did a really great job and I'm impressed. But now I'm going to fact check that. I'm going to say, what's the beat on the street? So I definitely encourage you to communicate with others. Professional organizations can help. You can reach out to us. But most importantly, ask some tough follow-up questions. Don't be shy to ask about what doesn't work well. A real partner who can be trusted is going to be honest and forthcoming with you about what is maybe a little more expensive of an endeavor than they maybe want to tell you because they might not close a sale, or that you might actually need to do a hire in order to successfully achieve this. If they're shying away from giving you uncomfortable truth, they're probably not trustworthy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I always say this, and I know we're all always saying this, but the sooner you can get started with this, the better. And, there's a lot of chatter out there. Well, I'm going to wait till they absolutely have every last detail, down as to what the CMMC requirements are going to be. But the point being is that this is going to take a while. And these are good business practices. This is also just good cyber hygiene for your organization. So we need to think about it that way. And I think that the more time you give yourself, the less expensive it could possibly be, because you're doing things as opposed to, oh my goodness, we have a contract and it's dated that, by the start of it, December 1st, we have to, have this all in place. So that's not realistic.
Yeah. And to your point, this is and will continue to be a moving target. There will never come a time from this moment forward where any framework is the final answer. There's too much evolving and changing. But what has not changed in the 30 years I've been earning these gray hairs is that the better we understand who is using the system, the tech, the device for what purpose and how it benefits our business and how protected is it, how able are we to recover if something happens to it. Something as simple as a laptop hard drive just dying. This can happen still, right? Hardware still fails. The better we do that stuff, the more resilient our organization is, and the more likely we are to already be in alignment with the first 10 to 20 steps of any security framework, whether it's the CMMC or any of the NIST variants or what's yet to come. What has not changed are those basics of how well do you understand what you have, what value it has to you and your organization. tied to the business process. So the one thing I would say is don't think as much about this as a tech problem as a understanding how the tooling that you're using in your business is affecting your business. Same approach you take to accounting or materials management, right? How do I know that I've got enough stock on hand to fulfill an order? That level of business function should also apply to how you approach your risk management and your cybersecurity.
That's an excellent way to look at it. I really think that that's people put it into that context and they'll really understand the level of severity of what we're talking about here. So that was fantastic. This was really, really great. Is there anything else you want to throw out there before we hop off here, Ryan?
I will just add that, simplify where you can, ask why more often. And if you have not yet for yourself done a personal risk assessment, shameless plug, it's one thing we do charitably. We make available a risk assessment that you can conduct for yourself. No gimmick there, really just trying to help people. And that's can be found at S as in Sam, 2 as in the number 2, .me as in Mike, Edward, s2me.io. Take it for yourself, take it for your family. We don't do anything with your information. It is really just to help you understand your at-home security practices. And feel free to share that with your friends, your family, your employees. The better we can connect with this topic, the faster we can achieve these goals and the less expensive it'll be for our businesses.
All right. So it's s2me.io.
Correct.
Okay, perfect. Everybody should go there and get that because that's great, especially if it's something you can use for at home and you can have your older parents, go over it with them. So that's fantastic. Well, thank you so much for your time with this, Ryan. I really appreciate that.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Do another one on something else. I'm sure there's plenty more we can talk about. And thank you everybody for watching. So
thanks everyone.
We'll see you. Bye-bye.